Welcome to the day after talking Duck sports, and we had a game yesterday with Oregon versus number 20 Illinois. But first, we got to talk about some other stuff, and that is Michigan and Michigan State having a 17-24 game, but at the end, these two just don't get along, and there was a big old fight. And everybody was involved, punches being thrown, blah blah blah. And so it just makes me wonder if there's going to be any punishment that will affect Oregon and Michigan next week, because Oregon goes to Michigan to play that game. So I don't think Michigan coach will suspend anyone. He doesn't seem like he's that type to put, his career in jeopardy with discipline. But you never know if the NCAA may look at that and suspend some players, or maybe just fine the teams or something. We'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, so interesting end to that game. Not super surprising, but that is what it is. So next, I want to talk about the rankings a little bit. And what we got here is, this is, of course, last week's ranking, but I think Illinois and Ohio State, I think this is a travesty that they're 10 teams apart. And the fact that Ohio State's still ranked above Indiana by that margin, to me, it just doesn't sit well. And let's take a look at this real quick. So Indiana and Nebraska, and then you had Ohio State and Nebraska, and Indiana puts 56 points on Nebraska in Nebraska, and you got Ohio State that can't barely score 21 points. That's kind of, I don't know. Like, to be honest, Oregon broke Ohio State. Let's be honest with that. Like, Oregon broke Ohio State. So Nebraska goes to Indiana and they lose 56-7. Nebraska goes to Ohio State and they almost win that game 21, but they lose 21-17. Ryan Day, of course, complained a lot against Oregon about the offensive pass interference call, but yet this week that pretty much saved their win over Nebraska by getting the same call when Nebraska pushed off. And they called that back and limited Nebraska to, I think, a field goal instead of a touchdown when Nebraska was driving. So, but Oregon broke Ohio State. I don't know what's going on with that. I think it's their offensive line. They're starting to lose people, and they just don't have the depth, and I think that's affecting them. But people are calling out Chip Kelly and wondering what the hell is going on with the play calling. But Ohio State looks like they're kind of in trouble a little bit, and they'll have to figure some things out. Luckily for them, their next opponent, Penn State, may have lost their starting quarterback. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and we'll talk about this Oregon game here. So, number 20, Illinois. Is it Illinois or Illinois? I think it's Illinois, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments if it's Illinois or Illinois, because I never quite got that. But number 20, Illinois, shows up to Autzen Stadium, and the number one team in the nation did what the number one team in the nation was supposed to do, and they just pretty much destroyed Illinois. And it wasn't close. Illinois wasn't ever in the game, and the score wasn't as close. the score, this game wasn't as close as the score shows. So let's just take a look here. So 38-9. It was all Oregon. Their only touchdown comes on a Harmon personal foul, basically unnecessary roughness. The play was called dead, and Harmon kind of threw him down. It would have been a punt from their red zone. They're inside their own 20, but instead they get the first down. They ended up driving all the way down, scoring a touchdown. I know you saw on TV Dan Lanning was scolding him a little bit. I'm sure there'll be a lot more said after that, because in a close game you can't have any of that. But let's take a look here. Oregon 18 first down, or Illinois 18 first down to Oregon's 27. Third down efficiency 5 for 13. Third down efficiency for Oregon was 6 of 11. Fourth down 0 for 3, and Oregon was 1 for 2. Rushing yards 132 rushing yards, and to Oregon's 229. Passing yards 161 to Oregon's 298. Total yards 527 for Oregon, 293 for Illinois. I think I saw a stat that in the last 2 games, that Oregon had held teams under 300 yards passing combined. That seemed like a pretty impressive. Oregon gets 3 sacks, and Dylan Gabriel gets 1 sack. That was basically holding on to the ball just way too long. For the most of the game, he had forever back there, but I think that made him a little bit too comfortable. Ended up with the sack there. Interceptions thrown, 2 interceptions for Illinois, and Dylan Gabriel again throws another interception. And I'm not sure that I mean, I don't think this was so much a Dylan Gabriel bad throw as it was a defensive player making an exceptional play. Some of the other Dylan Gabriel interceptions have been just bad throws. This one, I think, was just a disguised defense, and the guy made a great play. And that's all there really is about that one. Oregon punts twice. Penalty yards, 3 penalties. 2 penalties for Illinois. 5 penalties throughout the whole game. A very clean game overall. Oregon actually wins the time of possession there. So, interesting there. All right. So, Dylan Gabriel goes 18 of 26 for 291, 11.2 average, 3 TDs, 1 interception. Like I said, I don't really think that interception was necessarily a bad throw. Jordan James has 15 carries, 83 yards, 5.5 average for a long of 12. Noah Whittington has 7 carries, 56 yards, 8 average, 1 TD, 18 long. Now, I think this was Noah Whittington's best game of the year so far. I thought last week that he played better, but I thought this week was he was the Noah Whittington we expected to see. And I thought, to me, the play of the game was Noah Whittington trucking that guy on the end zone for the touchdown, just straight running him over and just not being denied. That was the Noah Whittington that I think we all expected to see, and I'm glad to see that he is finally getting back to where he was or whatever. I'm just glad to see it, because I think going forward, that takes some of the pressure off Jordan James, because giving Jordan James 23 carries a game the whole season is just going to wear him down. Now I think Oregon finally has a 1-2 punch. I'm still really impressed with the young running backs, Lamar, Riggs. Kenyon Sadiq is just having a few weeks where he's filling in for Terrence Ferguson as he's recovering. But I thought overall the rushing game was really good. I want to talk about Austin Novostat in a minute, but let's see. So passing, Tez Johnson gets 6 receptions for 102 yards, 17 average, long of 31. And that score that he had was just impressive. I listened to he was on the Duck Insider show, and he was talking about that he kind of talks when he's playing, and he's like, whoop. And when I was watching that game and he juked that player, I just heard him being a whoop, and it just made me laugh. But Tez Johnson doing Tez Johnson things. Justice Lowe has 2 receptions, 51 yards, long, an average of 25.5, 1 TD, 34 long. Good to see him getting a touchdown. Everybody always raves about Justice Lowe, and we're starting to see why. And it's good to see him in there. Patrick Herbert in there. He gets 2 for 48 yards. Kenyon Sadiq gets 2 for 28 yards. Noah Whittington, 2 for 20 yards. Evan Stewart, he only got 1 pass for 19 yards in this game, but he had some exceptional blocks out there that were part of the, getting those scores. And then Trayshawn Holden gets 2 for 7 yards. Jeremiah McClellan gets 1 for 6 yards. Overall, 20 receptions, 298 yards. Average 14.9, 3 TDs, 34 long. No fumbles there. And then the defense is just playing lights out, even without Jordan Birch. And I heard that Jordan Birch might be back next week along with Terrence Ferguson. So we'll have to see. Keep an eye on that. But Austin Novosad got in to play at the end of the 4th quarter. He had 2 attempts. It was 2 for 2, 7 yards, 3.5 average. But I am kind of... It kind of makes me very nervous, because I remember Oregon in the past years, quarterbacks getting hurt and derailing seasons, and it just makes me really nervous to see Dylan Gabriel in there, in the 4th quarter for no reason, and thinking me that he should probably been pulled halfway through the 3rd quarter, because this game wasn't in doubt. I mean, it really wasn't. By halftime, it was 35-3. And then, okay, you bring Dylan Gabriel in the first part of the 3rd quarter because Oregon sucks in the 3rd quarter for some reason. But and you're trying to correct something, but I don't understand leaving Dylan Gabriel in the rest of the game like that. I think... To me, it's more important to get your backups some development time. I understand that they don't want to use Moore because they just in case Dylan gets hurt, Moore would be the guy that comes in, and they're not trying to use up his eligibility by playing him this early in the season. But I do think that Austin Novosad or whatever should get some meaningful reps in there when you don't need to have Dylan Gabriel in there risking injury. That's just kind of my 2 cents about that. So we got the standings. We got Indiana Hoosiers 5-0 at the top, Oregon 5-0 up there, and Penn State Nittany Lions 4-0. And look at this point differential: 212-89, 170-63, 109-61, 125-63. And again, 212. That's man. They are putting up some points and they can score. I think Indiana's for real. I think they're a better team than their 13 ranking shows, but that is what it is. So next week, November 2nd, getting into November, and then I think basketball starts like directly after this game, pretty much. So you got Illinois going to Minnesota. This is the biggie that everybody's going to be watching. Number 3, Penn State versus number 4, Ohio State. And this is a very interesting game because Ohio State goes to Penn State, but it appears that Penn State's quarterback may be injured, and we'll have to see how that plays out. That's a 9 a.m. game right off the bat, first game of the day. So go ahead and watch that, and then watch Oregon and Michigan, because this Ohio State Penn State game dictates who has a chance at the Big Ten championship game. The winner here is still in the driver's seat. The loser goes home. So yeah, you got UCLA, Nebraska, USC, Washington, Northwestern, Purdue. 12:30, you got Oregon and Michigan at Michigan. And then you got Indiana at Michigan State, And don't be surprised when Indiana puts up 56 points on Michigan State, because they are just that good. I'm going to say it over and over again. They're just that good. Wisconsin suffers a heartbreaking loss to Penn State. I thought they had that game won, but they faltered there, and they go to Iowa. Again, I still think on the schedule that Wisconsin's still the biggest threat to Oregon for the rest of the year, but one game at a time. Let's see. Surprisingly, this game is only a 3.5 favorite for Oregon. That really surprises me. I think Oregon wins this game going away. I don't see Michigan able to stop Oregon in the first half. And I think this playing out similarly to the Illinois game. I think Oregon wins by 17 points at least. So I would definitely be taking 3.5 on that. That seems way low. But with that, we are out here today. Much love all. We will catch you next time when Oregon takes on Michigan.